Hey everybody, been a while. I got to talk about Attorney General Ken Paxton. He's the Attorney General here in Texas. He's under scrutiny for doing some kind of a business swindle where he's not reporting any money exchanges, which of course is against the law. And in my eyes, everybody says that he might be facing prosecution and all that. In my eyes, he should. He should face prosecution. Um, People, Texas has got so many deregulated laws in effect right now. Okay. They're not paying taxes. They're getting all these deals. They're doing it on cheap labor. You know, Packers, I've talked about them before. Packers, which is a meat packing and sanitation corporation, has their headquarters here in Texas, where they're looking the other way, back where the factory is in Iowa, Wisconsin, other places like Nebraska, and even smaller branches like in Pennsylvania, where they're using children in third shift positions to do the labor of what an adult is supposed to be doing as far as sanitation and handling the equipment goes. It's a meat processing and meat packaging plant. There's machinery there that you have to be a full grown adult to understand what it's about. And they're using minors. They've been busted using minors that are migrants, most of them illegal migrants, on a third shift positioned overnight, and then having to go out to, school and pretend nothing is wrong with them, despite the fact that the lack of sleep, which led to injuries and one death and all that. All that is going on up north while the money is coming in, and everybody here in Texas that it's at the headquarters who makes these laws. Don't do this, don't do that, don't break the law. But at the same time, they're here in Texas, and what's going on in their company is laws being broke. Child labor laws to almost child slavery laws, because they're getting paid chump change as opposed to an honest hourly wage. They weren't even getting paid minimum wage. They're just getting paid a couple of bucks every now and then. Sorry. And this was all under the permission of Packers here in Texas. Okay, we've got Tesla down here. We've got Abbott. We've got tons of different headquarters of industries that everybody out in the U.S. and different parts of the world, are having to face the harsh treatments by their immediate bosses, which are all covered up. And especially when the headquarters is consulted, why is this happening? And they say, well, we're unaware of that, or we don't tolerate it, and all that stuff. Well, that very first part, that they're unaware, is 100% true, because they're over here in Texas, headquartered, while all that crap is going on in other states. And I can't remember all of the names, but I did post it. If you go back to 2022, I think, maybe even 2021, it's the one that's titled that talks about Packers Incorporated. But yeah, I wound up naming a bunch of names of different businesses that are doing this, and so which leads me back to Ken Paxton, the Attorney General, Texas Attorney General. He might be facing charges, and I say good. He should face charges. What in the world is he doing authorizing corporations to move in here, taking money on the side, and not reporting any of it the way he's supposed to by law. He's a politician. He's not supposed to be a businessman, but there he is doing this swindle, with the authority of his political power. And that is wrong. That is against the law. And don't get me wrong, I'm sure there's some certain rules, loopholes that they'll probably call out. And the simple fact that everybody in political power here in Texas is on the same side. There's more than likely going to be him just getting a slap on the wrist. Nevertheless, I honestly believe in the name of justice, it should be done. Charges should be pressed against it. He should have to go to court. Everything needs to be exposed about his operations and how he's handling them. Everything needs to be sorted out. What's legal, what's not. What's as provided by law, and what's the swindle as provided by law. You know what I'm saying? It amazes me how nobody really tackles the corruption that's going on here in the Lone Star State. But you know what? I mean, everybody could say that the same thing's going on in their state. And I wish they would. I wish they would expose everything that's going on in their state. One of the states that came out in the news just this morning, it's 6 a.m. right now, by the time of this recording. A bridge in Maryland collapsed when this Freightliner boat crashed into it. How a boat can do damage to a bridge, I'm not sure, but my best guess is that the infrastructure was so weak because, Maryland is full of big companies and corporations that don't pay taxes. Ergo, there's no restructuring, no maintenance, no upkeep of everything that's a part of the infrastructure. If a boat can knock down a bridge, that cars and people were using, which for the record, my condolences goes to those that have not been recovered yet. And my condolences goes to those that are, affirmatively dead, deceased because of this incident, But here's the thing. I mean, you've got a huge call for regulation right there, not just here in Texas with my attorney general, but regulations to corporations and fines, fees, taxes that they should be paying in order to upkeep the infrastructure. And if Maryland has a governor that just ignores the crap, well, at least you'd have actual physical evidence that the governor ignores the crap. You know what I'm saying? You can't even attack him right now because of the way that every corporation that moved up to Maryland pays the politicians to have their taxes not being done, to not being taxed, and they get away scot-free while the rest of the state rots. Now here in Texas, we don't have too much of that problem yet, but I honestly believe we're not that far behind. Yeah, I mean, this is a huge call for regulation, is what I'm getting at. And we really, really need to find more political leaders that know how to do this. It's just so obviously become so important now, while we are actually watching the decay take place on our land. It's just in our country. It's just so dire and so in need of happening right now. But yeah, that's the long and the short of it. I apologize for the lighting. I'm at a park right now. I'm waiting to clock on one of my other jobs. I'm currently working 3 apps, delivery apps. Um, they all pay crappy, but you add them up and you start to, make enough to get your bills paid. That's about it. But that's a different subject as far as that goes. It falls in the lines of what I'm talking about now. We're all working for pennies. We're all working for cheap wages. We're all having a struggle, especially here in San Antonio. We all have this thing about all of our businesses, that are legally required, legally permitted, I should say, to pay the bare minimum that they can. And we, the people, the workers and all that, we're not getting paid enough to keep up with the high cost of living. I joined a union job where that exact statement was made, and all I saw was the representatives just agreeing, but at the same time saying we're doing the best that we can, which is exactly what everybody out here is saying. We're doing what we can. We can't do this, we can't do that. And it all just leads to me asking, well, then what the hell good are you? What purpose do you serve? As far as I'm concerned, every business that shuts down, it's rightfully so, because they're paying their employees a bunch of crap pay wages, and they can't even make enough money to hold their own as a business. Okay? And every business that can is making ginormous amounts of money while paying their employees a bunch of crap pay wages. Nobody here can keep up with the high cost of living. Plain and simple. So yeah, this segment is about regulation, and I know you guys don't want to hear about it. Especially for me. I've said it countless of times, and I'm going to say it again. So, yeah, we seriously need to start looking for some people that'll actually go as far as putting up regulations, especially now it's an election year. Nobody stood up yet. And it's quite possible that nobody's going to take over the Biden administration because nobody has shown him up, okay? We had a migrant crisis. Everybody says that. It's a migrant crisis. But you got 2 ways that the politicians are going. One, let's throw money at the solution, but let's make it a bipartisan deal so that way we look good and get some stuff done. The other is demonization. They're rapists, they're thieves, they're murderers, and all this stuff. And it's all his fault, despite the fact that I'm bussing them, flying them, and putting them on trains to your neighborhoods. Those are the 2 actual revenue avenues that the political parties are going, that all the politicians are going. None of them are meeting halfway to anything. None of them are coming up with solutions. None of them are even trying. Because there is a solution. It's just a long, tedious process, but it's costly. However, don't say but. However, it can be beneficial with more American jobs putting that process in. But nobody wants to see that. They want to see something happen now, and you get this crap. So nobody's going to be outvoting Biden. Biden, nobody's shown him up. Nobody's come up with anything other than what Biden has already done, and anything that somebody has come up with has been demonizing and has caused more harm. So that part is out of the way. What we need here locally is statewide are politicians that'll actually come up with plans, most likely also regulations, okay? Regulations and reorganizations of everything that we've got right now. And let the cards fall where they may. And what I mean by that is you put any kind of a regulation, and anybody and everybody that bitches is somebody that's like a corporate owner that just doesn't want to do the work. The gas company is proof of this. Right now, gas here in San Antonio has gone up to $3 and change. Now, it means I haven't heard an outcry about gas in any of the other states so far. So it means that gas prices here is probably at the same rate as all of the all of the other states. Okay? Which I understand. But you guys don't understand is what I've been talking about about the corruption of my governor all the way up to the corporations that are demonizing Biden. Okay? They're all not reopening refineries. They're all not drilling properly. What they're doing is toughening it out, sitting aside. They went through this gas price gouging throughout 2022. Throughout 2023, there was a couple of deals worked where a couple of sanctions were lifted, and we got oil coming in from Guyana, which is just on the other side of Venezuela, where Chevron rules, where everybody sells their gas to Chevron. Guyana is under threat by Venezuela that wants to attack Guyana, but it only wants to hit a third of the country where all of the oil drills are, where all the oil plants are. Okay? But that's on hold for right now. Nobody's making any moves yet because none of it's legal right now. So last year, a couple of sanctions were lifted, so we got some oil coming in and all this good stuff. But the corporations here in the States aren't doing anything. There's oil refineries that were shut down from the pandemic that just were not reopened. Why? Because they want to keep pricing the gas's price, and they want to say, well, Biden needs to deregulate us. Okay? And the deregulation with that is more drilling offshores, which is ruining our waters, more fracking, which is taking all the good drinking water to use to frack and drill more in lands like reservations and wildlife preservations, places that don't even need to be tended to. Okay? The Alaskan pipeline, which went through Trans-Canada, which came into the U.S., which is called Keystone, that entire pipeline, which stops over in West Texas, that's where it finishes. And then it gets put on boats and sailed through the Rio Grande out to other countries. Okay? Nothing is stopping that from being broke down and properly maintenanced through the trucking industry. It's still a pipeline that is currently being used every single time a president removes restrictions. Okay? A state that removes restrictions from some greedy governor like my worthless governor, Texas Governor Greg Abbott. And nothing is being done to stop the leaks, the cracks, the spills that take place every year since that Keystone pipeline has been built. Nothing is being done. And I can't remember the exact barrels, but it goes up there into the millions. Excuse me. It goes up there into the millions every year. I stated this before, several years back when I first started this podcast back in 21. And I'm still having to say it. I'm still getting news, and we're still looking at posts of people taking pictures of the spills, and people taking pictures of the leaks of the actual pipeline. I mean, come on, people. The gas is a primary indication of what I'm talking about. Every time they go through a regulation, every time they have to face a fine, a fee, they're always demonizing the government And they're saying that they're out to get you. When the fact of the matter is, the government is going after the companies and the corporations so that way we and you can actually have your gas and fuel, preferably at a cheaper rate. But because the government doesn't own the businesses, they do the gas price gouges. Regulation, that can actually stop this crap. Okay? Here's another thing about that concerning the gas and fuel. Aramco is the biggest oil and fuel industry that we've got. It's not owned by Americans. It's owned by the Saudis. They also participate in the price gougings. Okay? Here in Texas, we've got a ginormous oil and fuel industry called Movida. That is also not owned by Texas. We have a light natural gas or liquid natural gas, whatever, that's being drilled in Southwest Texas that's owned by a former Chinese Communist Party agent that's drilling all that, destroying the land, drilling up for the LNG, light natural gas or liquid natural gas, whichever way you want to politically correctly see it. It's drilling up all that in LNG and is not distributing it amongst Americans. It's being sent directly to China through our Rio Grande. Okay? It's being shipped. Just like with Keystone Pipeline, oil and fuel. Okay? Regulations can put a stop to that. Well, maybe not a stop, but can work it out to where we, the people, get to benefit out of that, out of these countries drilling, well, out of our country. Drilling in our country. Regulation. Exxon, Chevron, Diamond Shamrock, Valero, they all bow down to these foreign drilling companies. They won't open up their own refineries. They say it's too costly. They won't even reopen the refineries that they closed down during the pandemic. Okay? No. They can't spend a couple of $1 million to reopen refineries that are already in existence and give us our fuel that we need. It has to come from Russia. It has to come from Saudi Arabia. It has to come from Venezuela. All that work has to be done for them. And then we get the oil and stuff at whatever price they deem it. And you know, they have to do it without regulation. Drilling offshores, drilling on wildlife preservation, none of that is needed. Drilling on the graves of Native Americans in their reservations, that's what the Dakota Access Pipeline was all about. It was never needed. It was never necessary. Regulation. It could have prevented a whole lot of mess going on. The mess that we've got going on right now. Anyway, that's the long and the short of it. I'm going to stop right there at 25-minute mark. We're not going to take it any longer. Y'all, I hope y'all take care of yourselves. Hope you're having a good time. Take care of yourselves. Have a good Easter Sunday. In case I don't broadcast for another week. Have a good Easter Sunday. Y'all take care. Take it easy. Again, I do apologize for the lighting. It's just, you know, see, that doesn't help. I look kind of cryptic. I look like a Muppet, I think. I look like like I'm AI or something, like I'm a cartoon. But I'll see if I can do in the daytime again. Y'all take care. Y'all take it easy. This is Chris with Chris's Comments, signing out.